Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome. Super excited to connect with you guys and bring you another incredible transformation story, courtesy of just another powerful woman in this community. So, the intention of these calls is to be inspired, to motivate each other, and to introduce you to these incredible women in my community having incredible transformations from the inside out. This is our fourth life. I think, or fifth. I lost count. But regardless, it's exciting. It's exciting to connect. It's exciting to share because as I have been a part of this community the last 6 years, I have met some amazing women with such incredible stories. And the reason that I found it important to share these stories is that a lot of times we don't realize all of the things that go into transformation when we're focused on when we say we want to lose weight or we want to work on our fitness. There's just a whole other level of inner transformation that is happening, that has to happen in order for you to have that permanent physical transformation. It's all in alignment, and that's something that I've truly learned on this journey in connecting with these women and being a part of this incredibly positive community. So I want to bring on my friend who, she's not even a full year in, and that's so exciting because to see her just have this incredible like caterpillar to butterfly transformation and in such a short amount of time. And so I'm excited for what is to come for her because she is working on herself. She's doing the inner work. And just to have heard a little bit of her story, as you guys know, we have these incredible empowerment calls on Saturday mornings. And so I got to hear a little bit of her story. And when I say it's powerful, like the reason that this is so important to me to share is because you never know when you see the light and happy and positive person. You never know what someone has walked through in their journey. And so to be able to share these stories and for you to see that that physical transformation has everything to do with all of the inner work that they've done. And the fact that you never know what someone's hard has been, right? The struggle, the obstacles, to be the person that they are because of how they show up. They show up with such light and their presence is just so beautiful. That is why it's important to share these stories, because it could be something that someone else maybe has had to overcome or is overcoming. And in sharing these stories, we get to hear another perspective, the perspective of the person who has gone through this and that's why it's so important to share these stories. So I don't want to keep talking. I want to bring on my friend. I know she's on her break. So like I said, I met her let's see, June, May, I think it was like April or May, I want to say. Around that time, that's when we met this year. We met on a hike. And I'll have her share her experience, but like I shared on my story, she was just this vibrant person and this light, and I've gotten to witness her transformation and finding herself in such a short amount of time, and just to hear her story is just so powerful. So I want to bring on my friend Brenda. Let me there she is, perfect, her story with you guys, and then she'll offer some tips as well. So awesome. Yay. Oh girl, we got the memo white on white. Happy Friday. So introduce yourself and go ahead and share your story.
Hi guys, thank you for joining. I appreciate you. I am Brenda Cornejo and a mommy of two. Been married to my husband now for almost 10 years. And yeah, like you were saying, what happened was, honestly, I was only there on this hike to book a photo because I'm a photographer with Alex. And she's like, well, I need a book in person because I need to look at my schedule in person, and you know, that's the best way. Reach me there. It's close to both of us. Let's meet up. So I went with that intention to book my appointment. I showed up early, went up the hike, and I was like, well, there's someone here. As I was going down, I ran into her, and I was like, well, I'm already here, so might as well listen in. And when I heard your story, Cindy, I related to so many things that I was like, does she know me? Like, on, I completely felt everything that you were feeling or that you felt in the past. I'm like, I'm there. Like, wait a minute. This is for me. This is so crazy. And I saw the love between each other. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like, oh, this fake, like that can't be the unity between women and genuinely being there for each other. I thought that was fake. But then I got booked for a photo shoot with all the girls, with the VIPs as the transformation was going. And when I was around you guys in the photo shoot, taking pictures, and just seeing how behind the cameras you guys were still very positive and supportive of each other's journey, that I fell in love with that. I'm like, I want to be a part of this. I gotta be a part of the community that really genuinely cares for other women and their well being. Because I was at a place where I had already lost some weight the year before. I got a trainer, I was going religiously, and I lost the weight. But when I stopped paying for the service and I stopped going, all the reality hit me of what I had been going. Just basically, I was working it out as a distraction to what I really needed to work on the inside. And I
Did you mute? Are you muted? Can you hear
oh,
me?
can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Sorry, I couldn't hear you for a second.
So with the community, now that I have all these other women around me that not only support me, they also understand where you're coming from. Is it still muted?
It sounds like staticky.
Yeah, I'm probably losing service. Okay, okay, good. And
Yeah,
so
there you go.
once I had the support of the women who understood, and honestly, I got some tough truths. It's not all rainbows and butterflies with the group of girls. They tell you what you need to hear. And what I heard from Carmen was, girl, I love you, but it's time to realize and take accountability for what your part is in this. She's like, you can't just live in the mentality, and it sucks. And it's so crazy to think that I was in that space, but I was in the victim mentality where this happened to me and this happened to me and this happened to me. And I've been through shit. I've been through trauma that, geez, God forbid, all these people have probably been through as well. But it was time to take responsibility for my part of it, for my happiness, for my health. And that's ultimately what was brought up in the journey that I'm still going through. And with that, I wasn't now, I'm eating healthy and I'm exercising and I'm doing all of this for a different purpose, not to cover up what I have to deal with because I'm dealing with it. Saturdays are a major part. Personal development is a major part of my growth because, like I said, you have to take responsibility for what you have to take responsibility for. You can't just toss it onto the feelings or the person who may have hurt you and what have you. You know, leave that behind, but also live through the pain, bear and process it, and then continue on. And that's where I'm at. And with that, I've lost over 20 pounds, but I know that I'm keeping it off because it is a whole different mental game that's been added to it. And the support of the women is rainbows, but it helps that,
Oh,
you could take accountability. Are you freezing? Am I freezing?
it's like breaking off. Let me see. Can you see me clearly? Because I see you distorted. I just want to make sure that if it's my connection.
I have 2 bars.
Okay. Let me check really quick if this is. Oh no, I'm good. I'm connected to Wi-Fi. Okay. I can hear you. So let's keep going.
Fortunately, I've already lost the 20 pounds, but I know that because I'm in a different mental space and emotional space, that it's something that is going to be a lifestyle change and not just temporary. Like, as soon as I start feeling those feelings, I know how to process them better now than I did before. Instead of like, boom, 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 let me eat. Or I already ate a cheeseburger, well, then next is pizza, next is this, next is that. No, it's okay to have that and also have portion control and control of yourself, you know. So I've learned that balance through the journey.
And that's so important that you say that because, like you shared, right? You've tried to do the weight loss thing before. But this time, the difference is that you have incorporated the mindset, transforming your mind. And that is the biggest, like, people do not understand. There's two components, really three components in being successful in weight loss, right? And that is number one is nutrition, obviously. Good nutrition, fuel your body. Number two is mindset, conquering the mindset. And you said it perfectly, getting out of victim mode. That is like a big thing that most of us have to find our way out of. And third is community. And that's literally the three things that you've been working on as this last time around that you've started. And that's important because, like you shared, you tried it before, and why it didn't work is exactly those three things. You needed the not only the good nutrition but reinforcement of being on track. You needed the mindset and you needed the community because the accountability and the truth, right? Giving it to you, like, so that you hear it a different way, because it's completely different when you're trying to do it on your own, or even with the concept of, like, it's great to have a personal trainer, but there's a difference between a personal trainer and a nutritionist and a therapist. And, all of those things are a part of that journey. And that's the beautiful thing about this community that I know for you, I know you feel the same way. Like, it's been all of those things in one. And not only that, but to be surrounded by like-minded people, that is like on a whole other level. Because if you were doing it before by yourself, it was easy to have a slip up. It was easy to be like, pretend I didn't eat that. But now having the group of the accountability and the support, and also like hearing powerful things, right? Like you said, we connect on stories. And there's some things that you've shared when you shared on TikTok that I connected with you about your past and things that have happened to you. And you probably would have never known that, because when I talked about that part of my journey was years before we even met. But that's the beautiful thing, is that we get to connect we get to connect in those stories. And the fact that you're sharing your story so powerfully, you're sharing with truth, you're sharing with vulnerability. And so many people live their life in shame of what has happened to them because they have blame. And it's not their fault. It's not your fault when something traumatic happens to you. It's life. Life is always happening. But if you set yourself up to conquer that mindset, anything is possible. You can get yourself out of anything. So I want to ask you, because this is like one thing that is the trigger for most people to, like, say, I want to make a change. Right? Something happened. So what is the moment for you in your life that you were like, okay, I need to make a positive change?
Honestly,
And how did you feel? How did you feel?
Tired all the time. I was grumpy towards the kids. My marriage was suffering too because I just didn't have I didn't feel like anything, honestly. Like, spending time with the kids, I could see my husband would take the kids out to ride a bike, and he'd be like, hey, let's go ride a bike, let's go. I'm like, no. And I just be on my phone, or it's hard. I was neglecting didn't feel good within myself, being intimate. I feel disgusted with my own body, so of course I'm not going to want to support the guy, my husband. He was like, oh no, I still, of course, yeah, myself feel like good about myself when I'm doing what married couples do. And so that was also being neglected. Spending time with him and the kids was being neglected, and I was just in an unhappy mind, like completely unhappy. And the thing is that they probably felt like it was because of them I was this way, but it was because of myself that I was this way. And that victim mentality that I had of, like, oh, because I was abused as a child, I have low self-esteem, and then now here it is peaking up again as a wife, like feeling insecure because of my changes as a mother, which we prayed for. We prayed for because I had 4 daughter, another miscarriage, then I had my son. So my body went through so many hormonal changes. My body was up and down. I didn't know, like, how to even dress my new body as a mother. So all these things were going on. And so I was distracting myself in different areas, but not working on myself. So that was one thing that I had to take accountability for. And then uh, once I started to come around the community and got like that reality check, I was like, you know what? Whew, like cold water to my face, you know? And I started putting in the work, reading the book, and talking it out with people that knew the response. You know, people say, oh, I'm sorry, and what it's like to have gone through things, you know? And so someone that understands, which is unfortunate that there's other people that are there with me, but you know, having that, not feeling alone really, really helps. So I feel like that was a major step into my mentality. I really was not, it was all me. I didn't feel good about me, and I was projecting it out towards them, and they felt that it was them, you know. And so I'm at a place now that I can do all these and have the energy and have the love that they've been asking for at least, I can say at least 2 years.
I love that. I want to bring up something you mentioned, just so whoever's listening, like this is something to think about is, um, life is okay. Life is always going to happen. There's always going to be things. There's always going to be circumstances, but you have to remind yourself that you are in control of how you feel. You are in control of how you show up for yourself in your own life. Because at the end of the day, when you are in any circumstance, when you are victimized, guess what? The perpetrator is not thinking about how they victimized you. They've gone and moved on in any circumstance. I'm not just talking about abuse, but they're not thinking about how they've affected you. You're the one going to bed at night thinking about how you've been affected. And guess what? They're out there living their life and you're not. And so that's also some kind of awareness that we need to have, because girl, I've been there. Girl, I've felt, I went through years of putting myself in victimhood, and it didn't serve me. And so you having that realization of like, you know what? I got to make a change because it's starting to affect all of these things in my life, right? And so I want to ask you how has being on this journey and connecting to the community, how has it affected your relationships? So your personal growth, right? How has it affected your relationships and how you mother?
So that was ultimately the reason why I feel like I had to snap out of it. It's because I want to be able to grow my great grandchildren one day. Like my grandmother already met my kids, and I love that, and I want them to have that. But if I am putting myself through toxic things like food and alcohol, and I'm not going to say I don't drink, I still drink, but it's also not ever to the extent where it was. Um, and for me, it was my kids. It was because I want to grow old with them and to see them, and they love me like I don't even know how they even love me, like even me ignoring them or any of that, you know, they still love me regardless. And having that love from them made me realize, you know what, like this little dumb moment I'm going through, like I need to like snap out of it. And through the community and how you guys have been there to support me, I've been able to find the tools that I needed to not only be healthier so I could live a long, healthy life for them, but also my mental state. And people say, like, I just feel like people don't believe it. And I want to bring everybody on and be like, look, trust me, be around us. You'll see that this is real. Like, honestly, you guys have helped me so much. You don't even realize it, you know? But it's just genuine reality with the group. And it's changed because now I have patience. I spend time with them. I prioritize. I change my priorities from not just, and in a way, I guess it was selfish, but from what I felt that I was going through in the moment to now focusing on them and what they need so that they don't have to heal from my trauma. They don't have to do that anymore because I'm doing that so that they can live their life fully and to the extent that they're just, I love their personality just like mine, you know, they're just fun, loving little humans, and I don't want my traumas to affect them living their fullest life. And so I thank you because your story, what you've been through, honestly, is what made me want to join Herbalife and the community of women. And all of you guys, but your story.
Everybody's so powerful. Everybody's so powerful, right? I want to touch on something you said because, like, as you're talking, I'm thinking of all these things in my head. I'm writing down, I promise, I'm paying attention. But I'm writing down these things because these are things that need to be said. So I'm assuming that because you were going through all of these things, you experienced some level of postpartum. And this is so common, okay? So I know that part of from I've only been a mom once, so I don't know, I don't have a full experience, but I read a lot and I hear people's stories and I absorb everything. And one of the things that I have heard a lot is that how we feel about ourselves before we become mothers affects our postpartum journey. So if you do not feel besides the fact happiness, being pregnant and the excitement of having a baby is amazing, but I'm talking about on a personal level. If you have not dealt with your inner things that make you feel a certain way about you, aside being a mother, it affects how you handle, because remember, your body is going through this incredible like transformation, healing from the most amazing like experience your body can ever go through when you're pregnant and you have a baby. But if you don't heal from the things before, then that affects your probability to develop some type of postpartum. So knowing what you know now from your experience in your journey, what is something you would share with a new mom? Because I have a lot. Most of my most recent clients are all brand new mamas, and it's so exciting because I used to be like the weight loss person, right? Because I lost 100 over 100 pounds, but now I'm attracting all of these amazing moms, and I want to be able to come with honest feedback, because I feel that this first time around I was just supported by so many amazing women that I didn't experience that postpartum. But I know that it has a lot to do with, I felt really good about myself before I did, like you're going through healing. I did that. And not to say it doesn't come back, because it still comes back, the things you experience in your life. And that's why we have to keep working on ourselves, right? But I want to get your insight as to, from your own personal experience, what advice would you give to a brand new mama that is going through that like postpartum feelings and sadness or anger, whatever? Like, what is your best advice for that?
With my first daughter, and like I said, we went through a couple miscarriages before I had her, so I couldn't understand why initially I couldn't connect with her. I felt a huge disconnect. I would just stare at her crying and I didn't feel anything. I didn't understand how I can communicate with her and make her feel anything. I didn't feel anything. It was the hardest time. I did a live with La Jalispeña, which is Ines, a new girl to our group of women, empowering, and I loved her. And we came up with a couple of resources, and we recommend that you do your research beforehand, because that way you can know if you are at higher risk of getting postpartum depression, or what are the signs. Suffers from anxiety, yeah, ding ding. And if you're someone that already has had depression in the past, have gone through traumas, all of those things will be triggered once you become a mother. And that is because we are already going through so many hormonal changes, so many chemical changes within us, on top of being a mother and worrying about another little human being, and wondering if you're good enough for that human being to raise them and to love them. So there's so many thoughts we've had. My girl right here, Mary, she shared that she went through it bad, that she wanted to just toss the kid and be like, peace out. Like, I'm sure it wasn't like that, but it was something that you don't realize as a mom that you can even possibly experience. I didn't want to be harmful towards my daughter, but I also was at a point that if someone came to take her and spend the day with her, I would care less. I would just sleep I didn't care. And so I'm realizing that a lot of it I've had untreated postpartum depression because it was hard as a mom to even admit that I was having those feelings. So I never spoke to anybody. I just kind of sucked it up. And it wasn't until a year of her birth that I felt that I was starting to connect with her. And that was something super, super hard. So I recommend for all the young mommies, the new mommies, or already going to be mommies to do the research and look into what are the things that you might fall under, what category. And there's even free resources, and there's always us in the community that you can come and talk to. We welcome you with open arms always, regardless. We're here for you. And but 100% do the research to kind of see if you're at risk of getting postpartum, because it can be really scary and it can be really, really sad because you don't want to feel that not connected to your child when you can. you know, it is really, really hard on top of everything else involved.
Yeah. And I think that it's something that we need to normalize. The conversation is something we need to normalize. And secondly, don't compare yourself to anybody else. And when I share, because I share very authentically my experience, but I know that this is my experience because of the work that I've done on myself. Hadn't I will be 100% honest that if I would have had my daughter 6 years ago before I found this community, it would not be the same. I know that I would be a person going through postpartum. I know that being a mother would be very hard for me. I know that I would feel that same disconnect. I know that the way she's growing up right now, the life she has would not be the same. It would not be the same. And I don't even know that I would be alive. So that's why it's so important that we work on ourselves and we share these stories, because it's so powerful. And there's a lot of shame that comes with how you're feeling. And it's absolutely normal because, like we said, it's a mental thing. It's a hormonal thing. It's more than just saying, I'm not a good mom or I'm not worthy. There's a lot of things that we have to work within ourselves to understand that we are worthy. And regardless because there's circumstances where women become moms really young, and that's hard. It's hard being a mom in your 30s, like let alone being a mom in your teens. So give yourself grace, because we're all on our own little path and our own journey. And in the eyes of your children, you're an amazing mom. So I want you to give three, knowing what you know now, 3 tips that you would give the old version of you. Think about, okay, first let me ask you this. What is the age that you can remember yourself being the most vibrant?
High school. I want to say 15.
15. Okay. So at 15, you were alive and vibrant and just like this, just light, right? And then life happens. Life happens. So what advice would you give to 15-year-old Brenda, knowing what you know now? 3 tips.
So now is take care of yourself. Stop worrying, taking care of others, and their feelings are not because of you. I feel like that on a lot. Even to this day, it's hard. I can feel if someone is stressed or upset, and I take it on as like, what did I say something that might have hurt their feelings? Or like I take responsibility for someone else's emotions and feelings, and that's one thing that I would tell my 15-year-old self. Another thing is don't let someone else dim your light. Just continue to shine, because I feel like I would dim my light because, again, I didn't want them to feel bad, or I would allow that, and that obviously passed on to my insecurities. And the third thing I would say to myself is you're beautiful. You're beautiful regardless of what anybody tries to say.
Powerful, my friend. I wrote them down. Um, how is you've obviously been through, I mean, we've all been through so much, right? But your journey, like the journey you've had, you've shared about how it's impacted you as a mother. But how do you show up now, as far as like in the last year, your transformation, your inner transformation? How do you show up now knowing that you're raising a little girl?
I 100.
Because I mean, little boys are amazing, but being a woman and raising a daughter is just how I assume that how a man feels raising a son. There's just a power as a woman raising a daughter.
What they can go through. I think for me, I make sure that she knows that her feelings matter. Her feelings are valid, regardless as I may think. Oh, no. Now I'm like, it's okay. I understand. It's okay to feel scared because though it's super windy. Like this morning, it was windy. She was scared that the window can fall on her. I'm like, girl, it's not gonna happen. But I didn't tell her that. I said, I can see why you feel that it can be very scary. But I promise you that Daddy bolted that window nice and tight, and it's not gonna happen. But if you feel more comfortable, stand on this side. So telling her, am I muted?
There's like a static.
Am I good?
Okay.
Because I was getting a phone call. And so I also explained to her, so one, her feelings matter. They're valid. Two, when she asked me yesterday, actually, she asked me, it was so funny, and I'm like, oh, no. She asked me, Mom, does my hair look cute like this? And I was like, Amor, do you feel beautiful with your hair like that? Yeah, I do. I'm like, then you're fucking beautiful regardless. So if you feel beautiful with your hair like that, or it's sticking up in here, then that's perfectly fine. You feel beautiful because you think you're beautiful. You know you're beautiful. Not because I think so, even though I'm your mommy. That's another major thing that I want her to think for herself, because in this world and where we are now, we allow others' opinions, and it's so easily to let that take your identity, and that's not her identity. Another thing is I encourage her to read and to use her mind, because I want her to be this badass, independent woman, and not be dependent on anybody, not even me. Like, do your chores, you get money, spend it on what you want. If she wants to spend it on chocolate, that's her problem. She wants to save it. And I'll tell her, like, so you have a choice. You can always buy the chocolate with your money, or you can save it and buy the piano that you've been wanting us to buy you. Those are the ways that I've changed my mothering versus the way I was raised. Oh no, we don't have money right now. Oh no, candy's bad for you. Oh no, it's like I'm teaching her to make her own decisions and think for her.
That's important that you say that, because going back to, you had said that you didn't want your children to carry the weight of your trauma. And that's a big trauma that we have growing up, saying like we can't afford it. And it's so wild, because I was having this conversation last night with my husband, and I said, I'm grateful for the journey of transformation. And I feel like sometimes people do not understand when I'm talking about like why I'm so grateful. Like when I talk about Herbalife, and I'm like, it's not, you guys don't understand. Like, it's not just the nutrition, it's the personal development, the growth that I have had in my own life to literally be sleeping in my new home, because that would not have happened if I didn't grow. Right? My daughter would not be living the life she gets to live and show up the way just be the little person that she is, if I didn't go through that personal transformation. And that's the greater level of why we're so grateful. And sometimes to other people, they're just like, oh, you're way too excited about that. But honestly, like, I don't even care. I don't care what people think about me. And so like, it's crazy to have that awareness that we now get to create and cultivate a different life for our children, because we're no longer carrying around the weight of expectation, which you just mentioned. We're releasing that expectation. we're giving her a voice, and I say her because our daughters, I'm talking about our daughters, we're giving her a voice to express her emotions, and that her emotions are valid, right? And when you were talking, I thought of something that the conversation that I had with my husband the other day, and I said, when she meets somebody, even if it's family, you do not tell her to kiss or hug. You ask her. You ask her. And for a while he didn't understand what I was doing, and I said, you have to understand that she has boundaries, and I know she's a year and a half, but she has to understand that her feelings are valid, and if she doesn't want to hug somebody, if she doesn't want to kiss them, even if it's my sister, you have to respect her boundaries. And it starts with now, right? Because when my mom's in the other room, when we were little, like that was not okay. It was like you didn't say hi to everybody and hug everybody, and I was not comfortable, but I didn't want to be, I don't want to be bad. But it's that reality is that we are creating a different life for them, and it's a different experience. And not like, number one, please don't ever tell your children that you don't have money to buy them something. Like, use another way of saying it, like, let's save for it, or let's put it on a wish list, or let's work, because now you're putting that burden on your child, which should have never been put on them. Like, they don't need to have that extra stress, right? So all of these things you're saying are like totally in alignment with how I feel and how I want. And that's why I asked the question, like, what is your take on how you're raising your daughter? Because although my is little, I already have, from learning from you guys and hearing, your guys' perspective, having older children, and now how you are going about raising them. To me, that matters. And that's something that we need to share more of, right? Because it's so easy. And now knowing what we now know, going through our own journey, and knowing that at some point you shared at 15, right? For me, it was like, I think it was like 10 or 11 that I felt like something, I felt that kind of like light come out of me for a while. And it was all of those things, right? The expectation and all of these pressures. And it's like, you're a kid. You shouldn't have to think about, and it's sad that we live in a world where things happen to children, right? Circumstances, or even within the family, something happens, a trauma, right? Someone passes away. All of these experiences, they all shape us into the adults that we become. And eventually, if it also affects how we raise our children. And if it goes just like depression, if it goes untreated for so long, guess what? In 10 years, it's going to hit you, and you're going to be like all this wave of emotions and things, and you don't realize that it's literally started from when you were like 10 years old and these things happened. So it's important to bring awareness to these conversations and these stories, because essentially whatever you don't heal from, you're going to carry into parenthood, and your children will carry the weight of that pressure or that, So it's so important that we have this awareness, that we're sharing those stories. Thank you so much for joining me. You're amazing, and I love you so much. And I just want to say that I am so proud of you. I am so inspired by you, and I'm so glad that you found your light, because now you get to share it with all of us. And if you haven't met her, if you don't follow her, you need to follow her, because she's just so, her vibe is just on a different level. Okay. I'll tag her. I'm going to save this and I'll tag her, but it's just I love that you found your way. I love that you found yourself, because you are a light in this world that we absolutely need. And anyone who gets to meet you and know you is absolutely blessed. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited. I was so excited that you were able to connect. I know you're at work, but is there anything you want to add before we close it out?
I feel, because what you shared, and you were so vulnerable, and you shed tears, and you gave your heart to us, and you touched me within that. And I know we always say if we touch one person, but I'm sure you touch millions, and I appreciate you and all that you do for us. And on so many levels, you're just there. I know that if I wanted to, I can hit you up, and you will just be, even if you're busy, because you're still working, and you're a new mom, and you're a wife, and you still take the time to be there for us. And I really, really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. And that's what That's what the amazingness of this community is that we really have built a sisterhood, and that's what it's about. It's about connecting, it's about supporting one another so that we can all elevate. So thank you so much. If you guys want to join us on Saturdays, Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Tea Talk, Women Empowerment Hour. It's so incredible. You get to hear amazing stories like Brenda's and just absorb the positivity. You can hear my child crying on the other side. Absorbing the positivity. It's every Saturday. We are on Zoom, so you don't even need to get out of bed, okay? Just plug in, send Brenda or me a message, and we will send you the link. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Friday.